Replace the servo motor on a bike or elliptical. Note, your machine may not match exactly. 1. Disconnect and reconnect the power supplied from the wall outlet to turn the power off and on. 2. With power supplied and the machine active, set the resistance to the highest level. 3. Wait for the servo motor to change the resistance level. 'Once at the highest level, disconnect the power to the machine. Warning: disconnect all power to the machine and allow to sit for 5 minutes. 4. Remove the console mast and disconnect the console cables. Be sure not to crimp the cables or let the lower console cable fall into the mainframe. Note: your machine may require additional parts not referenced to be removed to complete these steps. Remove them after taking note of when to reattach them to assist with reassembly. Five. Tie a 3-foot, 1-meter length of string to the end of the lower console cable at the top of the console mast mount. 6. The shrouds must be removed from your machine. If the crank arms go through the shrouds, they must be removed first. To remove the crank arms, A. If provided, remove the crank cap or cover to expose the hardware of the crank arms. B. Remove the securing hardware from the crank arm if present. C. Be sure the crank puller is configured as shown. Thread the crank puller into the crank arm. When the crank puller is in the correct position, only 1 to 2 threads on the outer portion of the crank puller should show. D. Using a wrench, turn the inner portion of the crank puller clockwise. The crank arm will slide off as it is tightened. Seven. Now carefully remove the shrouds from the machine. Be aware that the power input cable connects to one of the shrouds, limiting the range of movement. Eight. With a 2.5-inch by 10-inch piece of cardboard, insert it between the brake magnet and the flywheel and tape the cardboard to the brake magnet. Be sure the cardboard fully covers the brake magnet. If possible, the piece of cardboard should be 1/8 inch, 3 millimeters thick. 9. There are 3 cables that run from the servo motor. Disconnect the speed sensor and power input cables. 10. Pull the lower console cable and string down into the main frame so that the strings run through the console mast mount. 11. Untie the string from the lower console cable. 12. Remove any zip ties that attach the lower console cable to the main frame. 13. Use a pair of needle nose pliers to unhook the tension spring from the main frame. Pull back and release the magnet arm enough to disengage it from the motor pulley shaft of the servo motor. This may not be necessary on your machine. 14. Remove the hardware that secures the old servo motor to the main frame. Be sure to catch it when released. 15. Loosely attach the new servo motor to the main frame, being sure not to crimp any cables. Be sure not to touch the potentiometer on the servo motor. 16. Tie the end of the string that is at the base of the console mast mount to the end of the console cable of the new servo motor. Carefully pull the console cable through the opening to the top of the console mast mount. Untie the string and discard it. Do not allow the console cable to fall into the main frame. 17. Connect the speed sensor and power input cables. 18. Reinstall the console mast. 2. Turn the power on. Warning: the machine is on. Current is active. There is risk of electrical shock. 19. Use the console to set the resistance to the highest level. Unplug the machine. Warning: disconnect all power to the machine and allow to sit for 5 minutes. 20. Put the brake arm back in position and connect the tension spring using the needle nose pliers. 21. Slide the servo motor until the closest point on the brake magnet is within 1/8 inch, 3 millimeters, the thickness of the cardboard on the brake magnet, and secure the servo motor to the main frame. Note, if an alternate way to measure the gap is needed, use about 36 pages of a paperback book. "22. Remove the cardboard and tape from the brake magnet. 23. Power up the machine to verify that the magnet arm can move freely and that the brake magnet and flywheel do not touch at the maximum resistance level. Warning, the machine is on, current is active. There is risk of electrical shock. 24. Disconnect the power supplied to the machine. 25. Replace any zip ties that were removed. 26. Reattach the shrouds and crank arms. Be sure the crank arms are connected at 180 degrees from each other. Also be sure to reattach any additional parts that were removed from the machine in the proper order.